What's
Hey,
up, everybody?
everybody. Oh, man, we almost didn't come on this
We
morning.
almost
You know
didn't
what I'm
make it.
saying? Like, well, it was it's DJ. It goes back to that conversation. When it doesn't work, just reboot, and it makes no
That's right.
friggin' sense, but it does. But you know what? Actually, something that also doesn't make a lot of sense is this strategy. Like when we have strategy, when we have all these things that we try, when in the hell do we call it quits? Because when are we giving up too early? And when are we just kind of beating a dead horse? To the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly. We got Jeff as the clear winner this morning. And then we got Nerf following up with him saying, "Good morning, holla gangsters." I hope I said that the way you meant it, Nerf. Good morning, Mr. Wilson. Good morning. Hey, everybody.
Morning,
Today's going to be a pretty cool day. So today is actually an audible when we think about it, DJ, because yesterday we had such a great conversation where what does strategy mean? When can it help? When can it really hurt us? And afterwards, DJ and I were talking, and something came up that we figured would be a really cool topic for today. And that is, when do we call it quits? Right? Like we go and we consume all this content, even this show, DJ, like call a spade a spade.
Oh, yeah.
Not everything we talk about on the show is going to help every sales rep. No. It might not be in their personality. The things we suggest or people we have on the show say, oh, try this, try this. You're going to try it. It's going to be like, this doesn't feel right. So there's going to be that uncomfortability even after a month where you're like, this just isn't in my wheelhouse of my demeanor.
I agree.
So we have to change it. You know, we go back to a story I've told many times where I had a friend of mine who loves baseball. He says, I can't sell worth crap. Now, I believe he's a good salesman, but no matter what you say to him, he will never believe he's a good salesman. So his strategy that works is baseball. And that's been his strategy for going on, probably 20 years now. And, you know, it's interesting. I would never be able to sell baseball because I just don't play baseball. Now I have a baseball diamond theory, but that's just because when you run bases, it's real simple.
It just makes sense.
But that strategy wouldn't work for me. I'd probably fumble it. I don't know enough about baseball. And even if I did, it just doesn't feel like it's in my...
It's just not you.
Yeah, it's like, it's not me, right? Where I'm more that image, credibility, brand. Let's look at, you know, future focused, and I future cast a lot. I know I do that all the time.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah, I think, you know, I think for the most part, a lot of salespeople do it. Certain salespeople do it in a certain way than others. So here's the big question then, brother. When you're, and for everyone watching and listening, good morning, Lisa. Good morning, Jeff.
Yeah, morning, Lisa. Morning, Jeff.
All y'all watching and listening, share with us. Like, how long do you give a new strategy before you say, okay, you know what? I'm going to take the L and I'm going to go up to bat with something else.
Yeah.
Right? Not that
please, everybody in the comments, losers. Let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know. I mean, not that we're losers. It's just, hey, this isn't working. And here's another part of the equation, okay? And it was one of my mentors that got me going, that's interesting. Because he says, isn't it funny? We know what works and we use it and it gets our business to a certain level. And then for some reason, we stop using it. And he said, and here's the interesting part. Some of the strategies will only get you to a certain level.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. But some of them actually have a lot more meat left on the bone. And it's kind of this lull, right? So if you take logistics, for example.
Would it be a lull? Or I think sometimes people hit plateaus and then they feel like they stopped. And there might just be something they need to break through. You know, maybe they're not going down.
No, but here, okay. You see, here's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. Is it a plateau or is it a lull?
Yeah.
So that whole Napoleon Hill, 3 feet from gold, right? Greg Reed and Sharon Lecter wrote an amazing book called 3 Feet from Gold. And it's the story in Think and Grow Rich, where they talk about like mining that vein and where they stopped digging. they were 3 feet from the richest vein of gold in the entire country in the US at that time,
Oh yeah, I know the
right?
story.
And so
Crazy. 3 feet.
crazy, right? So
It is
yeah,
crazy.
these
It is.
this
Oh,
this 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 guy and his uncle went out and purchased all this equipment because they started mining gold everywhere. But the place they owned, 3 feet from where they stopped, was the richest vein
had
of
the
gold.
had the
So, but
most.
yeah, so here's the question, DJ. Is it a plateau or is it a lull? Now, in sports, I think
Mm,
we hit a plateau for our talent, and then we have to train kind of twice as hard as the people that are more talented than us, right? But sales is learned. So
yeah,
when we hit that plateau, is it because we stopped scaling ourselves? Is it because the strategy we used stopped working? Or is it because
yeah,
maybe there was a change in our um,
yep.
like career,
Maybe,
not career, but the industry we're in,
yeah,
and we didn't follow that? See,
yeah.
these are questions I start asking myself when things don't work.
Oh
Like
yeah,
we look at when the pandemic first hit, right?
yeah,
When the pandemic first hit, I said, okay, so I'm noticing this uptick in LinkedIn. And this is when I was really paying attention.
yeah,
And I was working with a buddy of mine, Nick Redstone, who was like, all he did was study LinkedIn.
yeah.
And
Nice,
he says,
smart.
Dan, if you notice, 3 months ago, we were getting 5, 6, 7, 800 likes on a post. Now we're getting 55, 5,600 for a regular post. He goes,
Yeah,
people are starting to watch. So what I did is, because people had so much time, a lot of companies were shut down, nobody knew what to do. What did they do? They turned to social media.
yep,
But what I found was a video intro, right? So when I would connect with somebody, I'd send them a video and
yeah, yeah.
ask for a meeting. I was like in the 60 percentile of getting meetings.
Wow.
Now you'd be lucky to get what, 5%, maybe 4. But so it was a swing. So my question, when you start thinking about this, I start
Yeah.
thinking of things like,
Was
so
it the
as I
strategy or yeah?
was it the strategy? And when the strategy stops working, is it just kind of like an anomaly? It's new. Now everybody's doing video. Everybody does video messaging. I put out a
Oh yeah,
video messaging course like 2 weeks after I realized this. I shared the stats and I just gave it to people because I said, go connect with people. But
yeah,
like the video has dropped,
yeah,
right? It's where it's engagement. The engagement has dropped.
yeah,
Does that mean the strategy sucks? Or does that mean that there's a lull in the industry you're in? Because I speak to some people. I was just on a call yesterday and it's like, no, video is crushing it. It's like, interesting. In our industry, so. In
yeah,
another industry, you know what I mean? And then, okay, so where do you inject the video after?
yeah,
Like instead
yeah,
of the first one, do you maybe get a series going and then maybe you add on the second or third connection, maybe you add a, hey, thanks so much. We've been having a great conversation back and forth. I thought I'd share a video with you and ask to see if we can get a meeting, right?
yeah,
So that's what I mean by that kind of strategy,
yeah.
right? So,
Definitely. We we got a
uh,
Facebook user. I'm
yeah,
not sure. It
Facebook
just says
user.
Facebook
Are you
user.
guys here to raise the rates? Okay.
Uh,
Um,
what do you mean?
can you talk to Sleepy Joe and see if he will lower fuel too? And then he
Oh,
says, you'll remember the crash in
Sleepy Joe.
2008. It's
Uh,
happening now. What's your jobs? Dan
uh,
loves to hear himself talk. Oh,
oh my god,
nice. Nice.
who is this Facebook user? Oh my god,
Yeah, I guess Ryan's right. Laugh my
you got
ass
all
off.
in
You guys got
trouble.
trolls.
That's not
Hey,
nice. Whoever
yeah,
it
yeah.
is,
What are
come
your
on.
jobs? So you know what? Hey, whoever you are, welcome.
Yes,
I'll
thank
tell
you,
you right
buddy.
now. So
Uh,
we cannot talk to Sleepy Joe. I'm sorry. You're going to have to, maybe if you're spending too much on fuel, buy a smaller vehicle. Yeah, are we here to raise the rates? We hope that people raise rates to truckers because truckers deserve the compensation that's going to
Truckers
keep them healthy.
deserve the
Because
most.
if y'all don't
Listen,
get the rates you deserve, then every other transportation broker out there is just going to be scanning for trucks and it's going to be a goddamn nightmare.
yes,
Thank you. Nice to meet y'all. Nice to meet you too,
transparency
my
is
friend,
key.
whoever you are. Unfortunately, we just see Facebook user. We don't
Yeah,
see
we
your
just see
name, man.
Facebook users. So hey, nice to meet you though as well. Thank you for joining.
So, what's your thoughts on that, there, DJ? Good morning, James.
Oh man, I think. Well, is it fair to say go to? I mean, we got to make sure we're tracking, and we got to make sure and go to the data
Mhm,
if you're ever in question. I mean,
mhm.
if you start to, depending on the metrics you're tracking and stuff, if you start to feel like you're plateauing or maybe going down, is it that lull or is it, are you just plateauing? Maybe you have to do something else. I mean, would it be fair to say go to the data first?
I would think, you know, challenge is, how many people really keep data on that?
Well, if
Right?
you're
Like,
not keeping data on a strategy, don't you think that's crazy? I mean,
I'm glad you said that, brother.
that's
So,
crazy.
what is your, if you're looking at timelines, what is your timeline that you would allot yourself when you try a new strategy? Is it a timeline? Is it a number of connections? Like, what is your exact strategy when you're trying a new strategy
Yeah.
or a new
So
tactic or a new
for
technique?
for me, I'm kind of I guess it's the way I'm starting to do everything. But if I like it, then I'll stick with it a little bit more. If I'm like, kind of like you said, if it's this doesn't feel like me, this doesn't feel right, then I'll probably cut it quicker than I would. But I would say, it really depends on the data or the metrics that I'm kind of tracking to
Hmm.
really see if, I mean, could a few weeks give me an idea? I mean, your example, 3,300 emails in 36 hours. Yeah, that gives me some good data pretty quick. So maybe
Yeah,
36
yeah.
hours, I'd have a good idea. But, it really just
Don't do
depends on
that though, brother. Don't do that. It's just
don't do
bad
that.
news. It's
Don't
just
do
bad
that.
news. It's just
No,
bad
I'm
news.
not gonna do that. I won't do that. But you know what I'm saying. I mean, it really just depends on the amount of data that I can get to really know.
So,
I,
what
I
data points do
it,
you
it's
look
such,
for?
it's such a hard thing because I think there's certain times that we do where that story we get to that vein, or we get just before that vein, but we start to hit some pressure. We start to hit something
Yeah.
in a strategy that maybe we're trying.
Mhm.
And actually it brings up a great story. Dan Millman, super amazing dude. He wrote a bunch of books. I think it was something in gymnastics, gymnastics coach, a lot of different things he was. But he mentioned at the age of 65, he decided, well, I just turned 65. This guy looks like he's 30, but at 65, he's going to learn to ride the unicycle. He's never rode a
Mm.
unicycle in his life. Friend rode a unicycle. He said, "Here's the trick: take your unicycle, go in the tennis court, use the fence, hold on to the fence, and it'll help you." And so he did that, and he said it was crazy because I mean he could gymnastics, he does all these crazy things. I mean he said it was so humbling. But then he started to figure out when every time it felt like he was like forgetting what he was doing, almost like your golf analogy of it felt awkward and it
Mhm.
felt like, hold on, this is not working at all. He said that is literally when the growth is actually happening and it's becoming more of a habit, and it's going to your subconscious instead of your conscious. And so then it just becomes more like it's like that game, the speed of the game slowing down kind of idea. And he said,
Mhm.
so the first week, he maybe got a couple pedals. Second week, maybe a few more. But by the third week, but he said right before it broke, the third week, it was like he forgot everything, and then all of a sudden he was able to do it. And by the end of the
Meaning
third week,
forgot,
he was.
meaning he wasn't consciously thinking of it, not necessarily forgot it.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think it was, yeah, it became a habit. So he started to feel, and I think that's what we get into. And when we start to hit that, it's like, okay, maybe is this working? Am I doing the right thing? And maybe that's what happened with the vein, in the story. But I think that's what
It's
happens to us
interesting.
sometimes. Maybe push a little bit more before you give up, is what I'm saying. I think
That's
that's.
interesting because what I've found is every time it goes to a subconscious level, we tend to leave things behind.
Mm,
Right? Like when we're not creating triggers and when we're not, like, so
yeah,
perfect example.
yeah,
How many of you honestly out there,
yeah.
every time you pick up the call, every time you go into a meeting, every time you have an interaction with a prospect, a customer, a colleague, a manager, stop and say, what's my intention for this call? Like, how many really do it? We say it all the time, and we say it's a great strategy if people like Oprah still use it, and Elon Musk, and all these massively successful, whatever your version of success is, in the eyes. Like, you look at Oprah, for example, down, broke, poor, created her own company and just strove to become the best at what she does. That
Yeah.
is success. Becoming the best at her belief of success. It has nothing to do with money. It's becoming the best at what she does and helping people become
I
their
don't know what
best.
she's passionate about. I
Well,
think
she's very passionate
to
about
me,
it.
yeah, to me,
So,
it's more the passion. But
yeah, but it's a serious question. And I remember when I walked into a very large meeting when I first started my company, like it was a $30,000-$40,000 deal. And that was a huge amount of money when I first started my company. And it was like, I mean, it still is a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
And I didn't set my intentions. I didn't operate with the strategy that got me to where I was going. I figured I got this. Right. And I think that word, I got this, is or that sentence is statement, I guess, whatever you want to call it, could be one of the most defeating statements ever because you're missing some of the critical parts along the way.
Yeah.
Does that make
I think
sense?
Jeff has the good goals. I think we mentioned this yesterday when we were talking about strategy too, about wandering generality. I mean, goals, guys. If you don't have a target, if you don't know where you're going, I heard a story. Actually, just heard a story.
Facebook
I,
user, right here is a perfect example of how not to take negativity to heart and move on. Just like when you make a call to a prospect, no one is ever going to like what you have to say. Some will. Keep moving towards your goal. Yeah,
yeah,
that's right.
that's right.
That's right. Karen says, I believe that tracking data is important. How many calls, how many videos, how many are engaged on the call, what market, what strategy. I think most salespeople drive to the sale rather than the end game or goal. When we get off time management. Yeah. I
Yes.
mean, that's exactly what we're talking about, Karen. It's
Yeah, Karen, you
crazy.
hit it right on the head. When you get off tracks, I've seen this quote somewhere, but take a train off tracks, yeah, you can't move anymore. So if you're not on
Mm-hmm.
the tracks, the train isn't going anywhere. And so,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I agree 100%. If you, and again, we're human. We're going to have those days. We talked about it. I mean, we talked about it in our little circle group.
Mm-hmm.
Take a break. Sometimes, if everything's inside telling you, here's a strategy right here. You inside, you know yourself better than anybody else will ever know you. So if you feel like you got to walk away or take a break, do it. Don't push yourself too far. But yeah, I think absolutely Karen nailed it.
100%. Now, here's the thing.
Yeah,
Because saying it and doing it are obviously two completely different things. And when
absolutely.
I say doing it, tracking data, it's a long game thing, right?
Yeah,
You can't just do it for a week and think you got the answers. You look at our conversations with Dean, and every week it's a continuation from the week prior. And
yes,
there are tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of data points that his system collects,
yeah,
right? And
yep.
obviously,
Tons of
one
data.
thing I learned very early on is it has to fit into our schedule or we tend to stop doing it,
Agreed.
right? Like whatever's a priority will get done in our lives. And when we make data a priority, I mean, as simple as I can remember in my agenda, I used to put 3 boxes, right? Voicemail, contact, no answer. And I would just do a check. Right. So
Hmm.
sometimes you get voicemail. Sometimes I get contact. Sometimes there was no answer. I'd pick up and I'd dial in a beep, 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 whatever the case may be. And then I'd have a fifth box below for meetings. And it doesn't
Hmm.
necessarily mean a meeting today, but it was a meeting. And all I would do is as I was on the phone, if they pick up, I hit a check mark and then I go about my business. If I
Yep.
get a voicemail, when I hang up, I hit a check mark or you know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah. Yeah.
allowed me in my daily routine to keep track of the data. Then
Yeah.
at the end of the week, I wouldn't tally anything till the end of the week. And typically on Sunday nights, I would add it into my spreadsheet. These are the amount of calls I did. Here's the amount of engagement, the people I spoke to. Here's kind of how many follow-ups I had. Here's all this meeting that got set. So anytime I would, if I was on the phone with you, DJ, and I'd say, okay, so, okay, I'll get you this information by 12 o'clock tomorrow. If I get it to you by 12 o'clock tomorrow, can we schedule a time next week, say Monday at 2 p.m.? Yes, that would
Yes.
be a meeting to me.
Yep.
Even though it's a phone call and it's not like here's the agenda of the meeting and we're going to have it was a meeting, right? It was a
It's still a meeting.
scheduled
Yeah.
time for us to
Yeah.
meet. And
Yeah.
so that would be considered a meeting. And it's an interesting thing because one thing that I did see right away was my perspective on my productivity skyrocketed.
Mm.
Because let's face it, as a sales rep, we have days
Oh
where we
yeah.
feel like we're busy as hell, but we've been beat
No.
with a bat. Like
Yes.
we just nothing got accomplished.
Yeah.
But we really did get a lot accomplished. Remember when we took the 21-day Go for No challenge,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That was the first thing I realized is
Yeah.
I actually have a ton of reaching out, and I speak to a ton of people, and I connect with a ton of people. And it's like, wow, it's a shock. It's a new perspective on productivity. And
Yeah.
I think when we remain productive in our mind, like we could be productive. And in our minds, we're like, well, we should have been more productive, because we tend to, high performers tend to put a lot on themselves um, daily.
Well,
And
I'm so
sometimes,
glad you said that, because I think that going back to your point about it has to fit in your schedule. I think, guys, if you feel like you don't have enough time, it's probably because you got a lot of dumb shit that you got to take out. So it's not what you're
mm,
doing, but more it's what you shouldn't be doing, and then plug some of these good strategies, these good habits in those spots. But sometimes we got to remove some of the stuff we're doing first, and that's
mhm,
what I realize. Even going back to your notes, so tracking data, because I'm a tech nerd, kind of like you. And so I love like HubSpot. HubSpot is great because of a lot of the tracking features and things like that. But even the updating. But when I would do my call blocks at first, I was updating every single time right in the system. I'm like, this takes way too much time. So, and plus it distracted me from that. So I was like, nope, just do a note, just do a book or a note card or something, and just real quick. And then,
mhm,
do I update this? No, just do quick notes on it. And so it's just so you stay focused. And that's really the key to time management, staying focused in that hour of, setting the intention of what you're going to do, and then just do it. Um,
mm.
it was the change for me. But yeah, at first I was updating HubSpot, and then I'm only getting so many calls, and I'm like fuck, this takes way too long. And so it's all about speed, to me. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's I don't believe in time management. I believe in activity management. Like
Correct.
like during a day, we have specific things we want to accomplish. I put those things into what I call the big 5 moves.
Yep.
And every day I act on each of those 5, and I block times for it.
Yep.
And every day it's the same time that I block for it. But what I try and do is I try and amp my activity in that time block, right? And
Yeah.
I found, anyways, for me, that was the way it worked. And, to go back to the original question, how long do we give these strategies and tactics? I typically give them 500 connections
Mm.
or a month.
Okay. Yeah, I was
And
gonna say a month. I usually do a
yeah,
month. Yeah,
yeah,
I just cut off at a month.
yeah. And here's the thing is I might run simultaneous, right? So
Hmm.
in like when I was in the corporate world, I was selling twice a day. I had 2 blocks a day to sell. So in the
Yeah,
morning, I might do one strategy. In the afternoon, I might do another,
I like
and then
that.
I track both,
I've
right?
never see I've never done that. I had 3 different blocks, but yeah, I never thought to
You
do
did the
that. That's
same
It's a
strategy
great
3 different
idea. That's a
times.
great idea. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, I mean, it helped me. Because I have to have creativity in my day. Like, and I don't know if a lot of you are like that, where you have to have creativity in your day, or I feel the
or you
day.
feel like you're a hamster in a wheel, just
Yeah.
spinning the damn
Yeah.
wheel
Yeah.
over and
It's
over
like
again.
it's like Groundhog Day. I wake up, I do the same thing over and over and over again. And it's like,
Yeah,
no, I want some diversity. I want some differentiations, where it's
yeah.
like you can, you know, for lack of a better term, it's like you're one person in the morning and another person in the afternoon. And
Oh
not in a
man.
bad way, not in like
Yeah.
a sneaky, I'm going to pretend I'm somebody that I'm not to a customer. It's, in the morning I would sell image, credibility in the brand, and then for a month in the afternoon I'd sell a geographical. So what I do is
Yeah.
I'd pick a
I
state,
like that.
and
When
I'd
it's
figure.
and it when it's not the same thing all day long.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
like
like in
that.
the
I like
morning,
that.
you're selling the traffic manager, logistics manager,
Yeah.
image, credibility, brand, how they look to their business. And in the afternoon, I pick the state where most of my partners are, where I have a strong grip on the market, and where I have the asset side of my partners to back me up. So I have numbers, I have all of
Yeah.
that. And I would test that. And then
No.
I'd go for a month, and I'd say which morning or afternoon, given equal, right? Because
Yeah.
again, we
Yeah.
have our day that sometimes gets ahead of us. Oh shit, I didn't do my afternoon today.
Mhm.
So tomorrow I'm going to do 2 morning, and afternoon's going to be the state side, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I always tried to have it even, because if you're having, t- 1,000 hits here and 200 here, your data set's going to be off,
Yeah.
right? And
Absolutely.
then I do that for a month, and then I switch it up. And I know some people say, Dan, that's crazy. What if it's working? And this is probably where my mindset hurt me a little
Yeah.
bit. Is I was like, yeah, it's working, but what if something works better?
What if something else is better? Now I gotta ask. With doing the split, as you kept explaining it, I started to think about what would fail for me, and it was if one strategy I liked better than the other. Did
Hmm.
you ever notice that you were like starting to want, like, looking forward to doing one versus the other, or you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I mean, image, credibility, and brand
Yeah, it's fun.
has kind of been my gig.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I've never, and call it what you will. I've never heard of anyone talk about it before I did,
yeah,
and I'm sure there was people out there that sold it, just didn't put it in that format.
yeah.
But I'll tell you, at the company I was at, there were hundreds of salespeople, and I had the privilege of listening to almost all of them in almost every office,
Yeah.
and none of them were doing it the way I was doing it. So I figured, okay, I'm kind of this anomaly. I'm coming
Yeah,
out
you're
of left
creating. Yeah,
field. I'm saying something that the traffic manager, logistics manager, in that time, you got to understand, we're going back almost 15 years.
yeah,
Right,
exactly.
everyone was selling backhauls, and no one was selling relationships like they're selling now. Like, it's a
No,
totally different market
oh,
now.
it's
But
totally different.
what do people care about? They care about how they look to other people. As much as people say, I don't care, I don't care, they do care. When they are employed by somebody, they want to look good to their boss. They want
Absolutely.
their boss, like when we think about human psychology, and we say, okay, you have a superior that, pretty much dictates a bonus, the way you do things. When you go and say, hey, I got an idea, as a human, you want people to say, you know what, I really want to hear it, instead of, nah, you know what, you make all the wrong decisions and we're just not interested, right? Like,
Yeah,
you think about those two, that juxtaposition, and you want that.
yeah, yeah,
And so I
absolutely.
think everybody wants that, regardless of how much they might hate their job or might sound like they hate their job. It's they want to be respected by the people above them in
I
a
just want to be
corporation.
heard. I mean, in the
Yeah.
end, everybody wants a
And
voice, but
everyone wants a voice. That people want to be trusted,
yeah,
right? They want, when they bring an idea to the table, they want their bosses to say, you know what? Yeah, why don't you run with that?
yeah,
Let's just test it, because you know
yeah.
what? You
Test
bring
it,
great
try it out.
ideas, and things work. So
Yeah,
why not? If this is what you believe, and this is what I truly believe in our business as a professional logistics supplier, your mandate is to solve your customers' problems.
mm-hmm.
That's what you have
Yeah,
to do. You have to
yeah,
take commission out of it. You have to take everything out of it. How can I solve this person's problem? And if you can't solve it, gracefully walk away. Because in the
yeah.
end, your image and credibility and brand is on the line. And if you destroy it, you're done.
That's it.
You're
Yeah,
done. Like,
yeah,
that's all you have.
yep.
And so I don't know. It just always said, but then there was that other part, and that was the one I really liked the best. But the other parts, I said, okay, when you start digging into and researching and become knowledgeable in certain things, um, it is so much fun to have those conversations with people
It
that are
really is.
knowledgeable in the same thing, because you kind of like feed off each other.
Yes,
Right? So
get
it's
there.
like, yeah, I remember at one point I was like, California was the state. I had a great group of guys that I worked with, guys and gals I worked with, that had a solid stronghold. And I started looking at all the nuts and the seasonal, when the seasons are, when produce is, and everything, and use all of those anomalies to say, hey, I'm the expert in this area only, and I'd love to help you achieve your goals. So you're kind of mixing the two, but instead of leading with image, credibility, and brand, you're leading with an expert in the geographical area. That makes sense. Because
Yeah,
the way you look at it is, a traffic manager has a view here, right? As a logistics professional, you've got a 30,000-foot view overseeing the entire market,
yeah,
right? Not very many traffic managers in that time were saying, okay, I'm going to get on Link. I'm going to find how many people are searching, or I'm going to get an internet truck stop or a DAT thing. And I'm going to start, there was no Freight Waves.
yeah.
There was no DAT IQ. There was none of these companies around to educate people on markets.
No,
That makes
yeah,
sense?
yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Karen.
Karen says, as I've led many in sales, I set focus time daily, stay my day with my goal, start my day with my goals, personal affirmations, and getting into your flow. I set
Yeah.
each task, including my workout prior to data collection, call mania, sales call mania times,
Sales call
learning,
mania times. I like that.
I like that. And then the end of the day, I schedule a review. What went well? What did I learn? What can I do better? I love that. I
That
love
is
that.
perfect.
Kenneth is saying, DJ, are you getting back and updating?
Yes, yeah. So Kenneth, so I forget who I really learned time management or time blocking is really where I first learned it, but it was very strict. So yeah, in that time of doing the calls, I'm just taking notes, and then later on I have a separate time block where I'm then updating my HubSpot and going through emails and doing calls like that.
So when you schedule your sales call time, you don't touch your email, you don't look at it, you
I
kind of
don't
turn
touch
it off.
anything. Yeah, no.
Perfect.
I won't even mess. Yeah, but that's the only way to really get in the flow and just stay in that groove. Because
Mm-hmm.
again, you get sidetracked because you got this email and this customer's asking for this quote or this or that. Now you're just totally off. And no matter what anybody says, I hate to tell everybody this, but it's true. There's no such thing as multitasking. You can only focus on one thing at a time. I don't
Mm-hmm.
care who you are. It's just one
So is
thing.
this from personal experience that you realize this, DJ?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
How many
It's
times have you been on a call and you see an email notification come through and
Oh,
you're like,
dude, yeah,
and all
and
of a
then
sudden
it's
you lose like
totally.
five
I mean,
seconds
mind
and
is gone. Yes, I can't even
yeah,
think about what I was even talking about or
yeah.
saying.
Hmm.
You're lost. So yeah,
Yeah.
you have
And then the
to.
person on the other end of the line is like, you still there? And even
Yeah.
if it's 3
Hello, are
seconds,
you
it's like
okay?
they
Can I
feel
call
it. Yeah.
911?
Yeah. Did you
Yeah,
just have a heart
yeah,
attack?
no, yeah. You absolutely have to stay focused, and
Yeah.
that's yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So kind of thank you for asking that. But yeah, I have a separate time to do the kind of updating, or would just end of day would update it then. So thank you for asking that.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So, gosh, 30 minutes gone already. So I just
Yeah,
got to say, hey, thank you, Facebook user. Whoever
yeah,
you are, we have our
yeah.
first
Whoever
troll. We
you are,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
You keep giving her, brother. Um,
Yeah, and tell Sleepy Joe to bring down the gas prices for us.
yeah, yeah. So,
Well, wait.
what do we got to go out here, DJ?
Yeah, I got a good one. I think I got a good one. I don't know that it goes along with what we talked about, but before I do go there, thank you again, everybody. Actually, so Jeff, I think we're tied 1-1. We're gonna start tracking this.
Oh, are you
I
going to
think
track?
Yeah, I'm gonna track. So
Okay,
Lisa
okay.
Lisa was on Monday. Jeff was today. Whoever has the most until we start. I think just a little, I guess, sneak for you guys. But I think we're working on some swag, like shirts, some
Ooh,
Seven
actually,
Chatter
we're going to
shirts,
have
stuff like that.
swag by, I think it's next week, brother.
So we're
Yeah,
gonna give
yeah.
out that stuff, but maybe until then, whoever is victorious, if they would like a seat to join us on Friday shows, weekly wins and lessons, we'd love to invite you. So we'll make that first morning hello kind of a fun contest. So again, right
There
now
we
it's
go.
tied 1-1 with
Now, can
Lisa.
anyone
Yeah.
join
So
the contest? Can
what's
anyone
that?
join the contest? Can anyone
Yeah,
join the
yeah,
contest? Okay.
absolutely.
All right. There we go.
Absolutely.
Lisa
And
says,
again, yeah, if you want a seat on the show live with us Friday, you don't have to. So don't be afraid. You can still win. Just get some swag. But again, we just trying to make it fun. We're just trying to start the day. Like, you guys want to start your day right, start your day with us. 9 a.m., 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. We're here just to talk sales, logistics, life, and just doing the right thing, y'all. So again, thank you everybody for joining us every day. Thank you for all the messages. Thank you to American Logistics and Centurion Trucking. If you are watching this after it's replayed, down below, like and subscribe on YouTube to know when we're live next. Easy, there's no competition. Hey, I like that. Wow, Jeff is pulling it out. I think Jeff's already warming his
oh,
seat for Friday.
Jeff just
Lisa, get
fired the
ready.
guns across the bow there. Look at
Wow.
that. Look
All
at
right. Well,
that.
here, listen, y'all. So take us out. Thank you, Lisa. So Joseph D. Mastery, and it is to know how to wait. It is the great secret of success.
Mm. Yeah, because when you push, you got commission breath.
That's right.
To the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversation.